start with veins, I guess. So right here is your superior vena cava. That diverges into your brachiocephalic and brachiocephalic. You have your left and right brachiocephalic for your veins. They then diverge into your external jugular and your left subclavian. The left subclavian is the left subclavian when it's inside the rib cage. Once it moves outside the rib cage, it then becomes your axillary, and that will be found around the armpit area. And then when it's in the arm, it's the brachial. Your external jugular keeps going up, and then that diverges to your transverse scapular, which you might not be able to see that very well. There's a better transverse scapular on a different cat. But the transverse scapular will be right about here, and it actually break off from the external jugular and kind of go back towards the back of the neck. Oh, here we go. That's your transverse scapular. This right here. I don't know if y'all can see that. It's right there. Those are the upper veins. Now the upper arteries you have coming out of your heart, your aortic arch. Your aortic arch turns, kind of makes a U-turn and starts going down. So right here would be your aorta. And because it's in your thoracic cavity, that's your thoracic aorta. Going up, you have your brachiocephalic. Unlike the veins and for your arteries, you just have one brachiocephalic artery. And also coming off that aortic arch is your left subclavian artery. Again, your left subclavian stays your left subclavian when it's inside the rib cage. Outside the rib cage, it becomes your axillary. Then in the arm, it becomes your brachial. Continuing up that brachiocephalic, that forms your two carotids, your two common carotids, left and right there, moving up the neck, more medial than the external jugulars. And coming off that right common carotid would be your right subclavian. So your left subclavian comes out of your aortic arch, your right subclavian comes off the brachiocephalic and common carotid point where they change, I guess, right there. And then same thing for your right subclavian inside the rib cage, then axillary, then brachial. Those are the arteries and veins for the thoracic cavity. Now moving down here, going back to veins. This right here would be your inferior vena cava. Coming off that inferior vena cava, you have your adrenal lumbar, followed by your renal. Your renals are just the arteries and veins that connect to the kidney. You have your renal vein, and move that to the side. You also have your renal artery right here. Keep going down. Your superior vena cava stops right about there. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but it stops right about there. And then branches off into the legs. And this first branch right here would be your first part of the first branch. This right here is your left common iliac. Your internal iliac for your vein would be right here. And then after your internal iliac, it becomes your external iliac. And then from the external iliac for your vein into the femoral. For arteries, the iliacs work a little bit differently, but I'll start up here. You have your aorta coming down. Now it's because it's in the abdominal cavity, it's your abdominal aorta. Branch coming off that abdominal aorta, the first one that you guys have to know, would be your celiac trunk, followed by the your celiac trunk, followed by your superior mesenteric, and keep going down. You get to your inferior mesenteric right here. I got a lot of stuff around it, but this guy right here. And then your aorta stops right here, and coming directly down from that terminal end of the aorta is your internal iliacs on the inside here. Right there. And you have your left and your right internal iliacs. Just like this would be your left internal iliac for your veins. And then out here you have your left external iliac, and then the left femoral for your arteries. There is no common in your arteries. There's just the left external and then the left femoral. Whereas in your veins, it's the left common, then the left external, then the left femoral. Cool? That's all.